Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Coaches Corner University podcast. I am your host, Paul O'Neid, and today I'm joined by Jeff Black, someone who, in a roundabout way, is connected to me I originally heard about Jeff through my client mentee, Meredith Patchy, heard you on the Excellence Cartel podcast. And then it was actually a free live that you did with Scooby, yourself, Austin, Sam Miller, and I asked a question, and it was the way that you responded that I was like, "This is the kind of guy that I want to speak to," because you brought it back to the accountability and the empathy that you need to provide a client in solving problems. We aren't the ones who actually solve the problems, they are. And that was the way that you framed your response to the question. And that really resonated with me. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Jeff is an athlete, business owner, coach, author now. Man, welcome.
My man, you are too generous with my reply. It is an honor to be here. I know when you reached out to me, I was like, well, obviously I will say yes. You know, it's interesting because I think our space, and I think you've been around a long time like me.
Mhm.
It's almost like I watch it with my kids that I'm like, you want me to really think for you, don't you? Like you literally just want me to do this for you. I'm not doing it. And I've kind of like as a coach seen like just people make a lot of money off of being able to just think for other people. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what does that do to your long-term value is what you feel about yourself and your business. And I don't know, man. So I appreciate the fact you kind of dug that reply because that's how I look at it. I'm like, I don't know. I, as a coach, have to still look at myself in the face every day. And I want to be able to be like, could I maybe have handled that client better? Sure. But did I at least shoot him straight 100? And I just got to move on and off. And I think the industry could get better about that.
I think it's a pitfall of, young coaches, especially like when we started coaching, there was no Instagram. There was Facebook was
Oh,
starting out.
man.
Everything was either through email. I remember doing my initial like video reviews through Facebook Messenger and or emailing videos from YouTube links.
You're way ahead of me because I was in person. I didn't even get into online coaching until I launched the Excellence Cartel in 2019.
Oh wow. Yeah, I think I took
Yeah.
my first remote client in like 2008, 2009.
Wow, badass, man. You're like an OG like Scoob.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't scale it really until 2015 when I got out of college strength and conditioning. Because I was obviously doing some remote stuff while I was coaching in college. And then when I got out is when I was like, okay, well, if this is the only medium through which I can coach now, I have to look to expand into that. But I think, returning back that pitfall of I need to get eyes on me so that I can sell my service. But at what point does the cost of those eyes become my ethics and morals?
Oh, it's hard today considering I just had one of my friends, he lost his IG account and they without warning, without anything, and it was just because of kind of like his beliefs and some of the stuff he was sharing. And it completely just like snarled his YouTube efforts. And that brings up the question of like when you're starting a business, you have a lot of eyes on you and you're going to piss a
Mhm.
lot of people off if you're really hard on your ethics and your values because not a lot of people are anymore. And I don't know, man. I've taken a break from social media. That was my choice. And my time stepping away, I kind of went like, fuck, I really missed the opportunity to make more money at this if I could have just looked at it like a business. But I
Mhm.
couldn't because when I got into social media, it was to share my bodybuilding journey.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, man. The reason I got into bodybuilding is one, my childhood with my brittle bone disease
Hmm.
and all the surgeries I had to overcome. That I got hit in the face by a bully. I talk about in my book. And I found a bodybuilding magazine, and it just kind of got my mind going. I I love the damn sport because even though I have a crippled condition, in essence, my bones are brittle, I can still show up on stage and place, be competitive. I
Hmm.
can control my controllables because it makes me a better person. I loved bodybuilding for being able to blend in. So I didn't really like my coach who I originally worked with, Tony Haynes, he had no clue I had my brittle bone disease until RX Muscle. When Dave Palumbo was at Junior Nationals, he goes, "What do you have? Hip surgery?" I said, "Nah, man, I was born with brittle bone disease." Oh, I. And, he goes, "Oh, osteogenesis." I was like, "Sure." He goes, "Well, I want you to talk to my editor. We want to do a story about you." And I was like, "Oh, like I didn't want to talk about it."
Yeah.
Because I like the fact that I was being judged based upon what I was presenting. And yeah, you could see an ugly scars and you could see there was difference in my legs,
Yeah.
but I wanted to be judged on my work ethic and what that represented. And that's what
Right.
bodybuilding allowed me to do. So John Romano, oddly enough, every bodybuilder's dream to have an article about it,
Yeah.
wrote the article about me. And after that, I started getting this not notoriety, but a lot of respect from my fellow brothers in iron who were like, dude, that's crazy that you could break something and you're in there. I see you doing like 315 and all this stupid stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just be asking for it. You know what I mean? But that's why I got into social media was just because the connection of bodybuilding and
Yeah.
kind of wanted to show my friends like I love heavy metal. I just bought myself an 8 string guitar. Like I love writing. I love all these books. I love reading. I love
Mhm.
thinking. And that's why I got into it. I totally missed the social media is a business thing. And I think that that's what makes it hard for me
Yeah.
because I can't kind of throttle that. Like you're saying, you can't kind of throttle something to do with yourself to go all in on the cheese to win.
And I don't know, like, I come at it from a few different ways, and that I do approach my social media like a business.
Right.
So there's certain rules about business that you kind of have to abide by. I don't post about politics. I don't post about religion.
See, I post about both. That's why it's my personal
Right.
life is
So
people.
I have thoughts on both, but in general,
Sure.
they're not necessarily, I don't, I'm from Canada, right? So our politics are completely fucked anyway. So um
Blame Canada.
yo, fuck yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so I just kind of I keep it to what the business is about. And I also understand that I am my business. So a certain portion of my social media needs to be dedicated to
Right.
letting people know about me and who I am and what I stand for within the scope of my business. But when it comes to the idea of getting eyes on your stuff, I did a short little like clickbaity reel yesterday, sent to my editor. I haven't posted it yet, but it's essentially like we always talk about we hate polarizing our politics, yet we continue to polarize health and fitness. And that's where, to me, the ethics and morals come into question because if you're a coach worth your salt, which I know that you are, I think there's very few things that you take a hard stance, yes or no on.
Oh,
Very few.
100%. Yeah. Cause I've seen it all play out in many different, so many ways now that I'm like, sure.
Right.
Like,
So to say XYZ is terrible, to me, that's unethical on my part because that's not what I truly believe. I believe there's a time and place for everything within reason. And if I don't present information in a nuanced way, I know that's not going to get me the eyes that I'm after to sell as much coaching, quote unquote, as I want to sell. But to me, that is the cost that I pay to be ethical and morally sound to myself. You see that like the disconnect is always there. And I think maybe part of it is these kids don't know who they are yet. They don't know what they stand for yet, so they attach themselves to ideas. Maybe, but where do you draw the line?
man, this could go so deep with me, Paul. I read too
Good.
much and have done too many psychedelics that now I just kind of just look at people and I'm like, it's okay that you think that way. I did too. Like, hopefully, life hits you enough that you change your thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the problem is, it's the same energy to be a victim as it is victor, but the problem is society isn't telling anybody that anymore. So you get kind of a lot of people who go down this path of raw, 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 raw. And I don't think it's anything other than just they don't want to think for themselves
Yeah.
or this is how they really believe. And if that's how they really believe, then you know what? Cool. I made that mistake too. But don't be offended when someone says, remember that time? I told you so. You know what I mean? And that I think
Yeah.
that's what's kind of coming. And I don't know, man. I've kind of taken a different stance, and it took me stepping away from social media for me to kind of see this.
Mhm.
When I see things that maybe I see someone digging in on, I've kind of pulled a couple of my friends aside and been like, hey, look, I know you think this. I respect. Man, I was there before. And I'll give an example. And I'll be like, but I'll tell you, I read a couple of things. I kind of went through some experiences, and that's not really the thing that you'll find to be the one absolute at the end of the day.
Mhm.
I encourage you to think a little bit more. And I've kind of just left that with people. And then that gives me my piece to say I did my best to help them correct what I believed, and I feel absolved and I go for it. I had to work on that though.
That displays to me a very high level of emotional intelligence because a lot of the coaches that I speak to, especially in a mentorship capacity, they describe themselves as empaths, which to me makes you a very strong coach. If you're able to put yourself in the shoes of your clients and relate to the problems that they're having, it's a very important skill to have. But what you demonstrated in that exchange is I'm going to provide you my feedback, and then I'm going to leave your emotions with you and I'm going to move on because that's not mine to hold. And where I think a lot of younger coaches, they will attach themselves to the emotions of the client and own that when it's not theirs to hold on to. And just in that one statement, you kind of you like, yeah, I've done a lot of personal work. I'm like, yeah, I can tell.
Well, I'll say this, man. You either love to win or you hate to lose. I feel if you hate to lose, then you never have to experience, you always experience winning. So it kind of takes care of itself. When I can't get through to a client, I know I lost. I can actually tell every trainer here, and I bet you'll agree with me who's listening or anyone out there.
Mm,
The reason that you don't get the success you want out of the clients is because you didn't educate them in a way that resonated to make an impact in one day out of all the days they trained with you for them to see something. They
mm,
couldn't string the wins together. You didn't educate them on stringing the wins together. You didn't educate them in a way that they understood. And I think that's the biggest barrier to entry in our industry.
mhm.
On where, if you look at John Meadows, prime example back in the day, he could deliver. I think
Yep.
everybody knew that. You could just capture it 30 seconds. Okay, I got it. Bye. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And nowadays it's so deep. And if I was coming up training today, I don't think I would have enjoyed training like I did back then. I came up in
No,
95, 96.
no.
There wasn't anyone going, hey, your elbow's off by 4 degrees. You might want to correct that. Or, hey, you kind of bounced or but you didn't see that. You saw
Yep.
guys who didn't time a damn rest set, who didn't do anything, who trained crazy animals. Like I saw something I was telling my wife. I said, she because I own a gym. I'm like, it's just different. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I think the girls train harder than the guys now.
Without question.
And she's like, well, actually,
Unequivocally, I
I've
agree.
kind of thought that too. And I'm like, okay, so this is real reality. But then I watch, like I said, like these guys, like I remember Tori and Jason. You remember the old school white hammer strength press machine that actually was that nasty angle that went dead up
Oh
behind
yeah,
you
yeah,
in
yeah.
the loop? I remember those guys putting like 4 plates on each side. Those were the real plates, and then 2 plates on the damn handles. And then they were side lateral and 80-pound dumbbells, and it looked
Mhm.
like shit. But guess what? They had Goldberg shoulders.
Right.
That's what I wanted. And you don't see that anymore. You just don't see like this weird effort got misplaced. No, I'm probably on a tangent, but it goes back to the whole, do we actually educate the client or do we make ourselves feel smart that they're paying the money they're paying because we're that smart, trying to give them the education when sometimes it's as simple as, that tuna pack you're eating out of a can? Yeah, like let's try to cook it, or let's try to do this or that. And it's just little stuff. You don't really have to
S-
dig too much, but each week feedback that helps them helps you retain clients.
Man, okay, so I'd love to dive into the psychology of this a little bit because it's something that's fascinated me, especially like being in the education space, having to relate to a different generation who has had a different upbringing with different exposures. I found that the motivations are completely different.
100.
My generation motivated more so by action, and we wanted to learn as we go. I remember going to the gym with my fucking animal pack workout, like
Yeah.
Frank McGrath's chest workout, and just smashing away at it for weeks on end until I was like, okay, I think I need something new now. Whereas this generation, if you look at it from top to bottom, whether we're talking athletes, students, whatever, to them, it's not worth starting unless they believe that it's the right way to do it.
Yeah, no, it 100%. And back for me, it was as simple as, oh, Lee Priest new back workouts out. Sweet. 7 sets, 5 exercises. Sounds reasonable. I'm doing it,
Sounds
and
reasonable.
that was like what
Yeah.
went on, and I don't know, man. It just looks like it wouldn't be fun. And I think when it comes to the psychology of stuff, like every I got this from studying neurolinguistic programming. Everybody's seeing a movie. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of helping them see the movie that they need to see. And if you
I
know
like
they're
that.
seeing the movie that says that this is the way, then your job is to say, okay, but like maybe, I don't know, homie, over here, if you look at business model A, has a $10 million operation. But what you
Mhm.
don't know is that's $10 million over 10 years because he spent the first 20 years losing $10 million only making mistakes. Do you know what I mean? Like,
My favorite.
like I tried to correlate to people like it is what it is, but you got to kind of work for shit. And if you're C bum and people like that who can just Trump born, dad's rich, gives you a million, and you're able to play the right cards, like those are the rare extremes. Hard work is going to be your best reward.
Yeah, it's I feel as though the ones who get it these days are able to blend the hard work with the intelligent approach. But at the end of the day, I'm probably one of the most type A, like neurotic people when it comes to things that really interest me, training, nutrition, science. I could give a fuck about anything else. But in general, I am motivated through action. So there are times when I have to tell my coach, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not going to video anything today. I'm just going to train.
It's a good
Or
day.
great day. Um, or hey, can you just tell me what you want to see from me so I don't have to think about this? Let me go in, let me smash some weights, and we'll move on with our lives. And I do use the same stuff with my clients. You have to be able, like you said, we need to get a desired outcome. But the way that we get that desired outcome must be tailored to that individual, their interests, their needs, and what makes them tick. And I think we only get that way through learning about ourselves, working with a lot of clients, and having that massive toolbox to pull from in terms of how do we apply what tool to what person at what time to get them to see what we want them to see.
All right, so I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. I've
Yeah,
told a few
please.
people I did. I think I said it on maybe one of the podcasts I did. If you do 75 hard, it's phase 3. You got to talk to people every day, like 30 days straight, different people. And I was like, okay, I could do this easy in my gym. But then I started thinking, like, well, how does that really help me? And 75 hard has nothing, it's not a fitness challenge, it really is more of a mental challenge, which is
Mhm.
why I actually enjoyed it. But I decided to go to Publix, which is a grocery store. And I decided to go ask random people, like, hey, if I was like seeing a grocery cart, I'd be like, hey, would you like? I go, I'm a health and fitness coach. I coach people, I do personal. Can I look at your cart and kind of, would you like some healthy tips? Everybody said sure. So
Mhm.
then the easy ones were usually the seed oils you could converse about,
Yeah.
right? And I'd be like, by the way, do you know what a functional nutritionist is? No. Do you know what a hypertrophy programming super duper super saiyan coach is? No. Do you know much about gut health? No, just probiotics. Okay. Would it shock you that I could look at blood work or their urine based tests out there that could actually tell you hormones that could really change your life? What? Really? Yeah. What's your idea? Actually, my last question was what's your idea of a personal trainer or a nutritionist? The answers were advocate people. The answers were the it works, it wraps people. Like we wore those wraps that just sweat the weight off you or whatever that shit was.
Okay. Yeah.
Trainers who hold clipboards or something similar to their high school gym class, like a CrossFit F45, where they just scream and yell at you or whatever it is for 45 minutes pounding around. Nobody knows what the fuck we actually do. So, like, that's where I'm like, when people bitch about, they're like on social media, I'm like, if people don't know this at like a grocery store, who, let's be honest, like, I was just at the Health Hybrid Summit with, in Fort Lauderdale with the new ethics team because I'm a sponsored athlete of
Mhm.
new ethics formulations. And they were like showing stunning numbers. I remember Benazita, who he wrote Keto Flex, which is an amazing book explaining how you actually do keto people. Like keto is good if you need to reset people. There's a time and a place. And you're talking like it's 92% of the population is like pretty much metabolically dysfunction due to seed oils and different things like that. And then how do you start telling people like, well, that thing you buy all the time, that fat lasts 2 years in your body? People's minds get blown. They think really bad of us, Paul. They think we're just people who are just going to sell them supplements, sell them a bullshit training program, when all they really want to know is like, what can I kind of do to start really changing my life now? And I tell everybody, if you just start going through the grocery stores on a Sunday afternoon, I guarantee you could pick up probably 30 clients in the course of 30 days.
It's funny you
Of
say
that month.
one
Like you
of my
just do it.
favorite one of my favorite pieces of homework to give new coaching mentees is whenever the barista at Starbucks asks them about their day, I ask them to be excited about their coaching and tell them what they do for a living.
I think that's a good thing. It informs people what the hell we do, but nobody knows what we do. So everybody on TikTok, Instagram, Real Land, most of those people are flicking by anyway.
Well, it's an echo chamber too, because you look at the percentage of Facebook and or Instagram and TikTok that's actually fitness. It self-selects for people who are interested in fitness. So if you want to look and expand the industry and bring more people into it, you're going to have those conversations in a Publix or in a grocery store um, to be able to educate people on exactly what you do. And if you're not able to have that conversation in person and explain to someone who has no idea what you do, how are you going to sell your service?
100%.
You can't.
Most everybody's sick. You just need to help them start feeling better. And it can be, it doesn't have to be much, but
No.
everybody's trying to think these complex things. Like when I onboard you as a client, I send you a video showing you how to use the scale, how to weigh out a salad, how to weigh out your meat,
Mhm.
how I weigh out my protein, how I weigh out my peanut butter, but zero out the spoon first, you know, things like that. Cause these are things people don't know.
Yep.
And I tell everybody they're never going to understand if their progesterone sucks unless you find out that like maybe she's in her 36 and she's on two antidepressants plus Abilify. Well, that could be a strong signal that you want to have the conversation. But if you can't get her feeling better in other areas, she's not going to trust you to take those other steps. And I think sometimes we put the cart before the horse, whatever saying you want to use
Without
there.
question.
And you know, there's always been that whole argument of like, it's functional need, is this needed, is that needed? I'm like, yes, it's all needed. The question is how you break through to the client, prospective customer in a way that connects, that they go, oh my God, like that's
Yeah.
something simple. And then they catch and latch on and go from there.
That level of simplicity, I think, is probably the biggest barrier to entry because from a psychological standpoint, it's much easier to admit that you can't solve a complex problem than it is to admit that you can't solve a simple one. This is a conversation I had with Mare and Sarah in that all of these, let's say, these gut health protocols, hormone reset protocols, even like insulin resistance protocols,
Mm-hmm.
they all start with single ingredient whole foods, better sleep, better stress management, and more movement.
Ding, 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 ding.
But if you want to sell a high ticket coaching product and someone's coming to you for that high level solution because that's what they believe that they need, your ability to sell them on simplicity is probably the most valuable asset that you have as a coach.
100%. 100%. You know, when people write content, I found this out when I wrote my book and just kind of got into more writing with Steve and kind of mentoring me. The Hemingway editor, if you go to hemingwayeditor.com, if you're and put what your content is in there, it'll tell you the grade level that you wrote it at. If you
Really?
write it above if you write it above a sixth grade level, like, and you start looking in the on the good old Google machine, um, you will see that when your content gets above like fifth grade, sixth grade, that people start tuning out. So there's truth
Really?
to, yeah. So this is why I try to tell people, if you can't figure out how to dumb it down with your words, it's never really going to connect. And you're all in, you know, let's be honest, the coaching industry is mostly coaches commenting on coaches stuff, going, yeah, say it for people out of the back, or let's LFG and other shit like that. I'm like, that's great. But like, I really hope like my sister's friend in that $1.2 million neighborhood she lives in, where all the houses start at, like read that, saw that on the person, you know what I mean? That can help
Right.
her through her pain. It doesn't matter about that. And that's where I'm like, I tell everybody, the content doesn't have to be overly complex. It's got to connect. Once you connect, then it's your job to be overly complex. to solve the simple initial problem.
I love that. So let's keep going down the rabbit hole of writing because writing a book has been something that I've had on my mind for a while. I just don't know what I would write about per se. Um,
Okay, well, what
I,
interests you?
well, of course, yeah. I've had a few ideas, and I've had a few.
Well, give us some. Let's work it. See,
I'm supposed to
audience,
be
I will put
interviewing
the
you.
host, I'll put the host on the spot back. I don't care. Let's come on, give us a couple of ideas because I'd just be fascinated to see what you're thinking about because my book was about my life, so that was easy for me. But
Honestly,
now I'm writing about something different, so I'm like, ooh,
I was debating it doing it about life, but I was also debating doing it more like an educational style, because
ooh.
I do feel that I have a pretty good way of communicating complex topics simply. Um, and it's something that I pride myself on. The other thing that I would love to bring in is just an element of philosophy to the coaching process, because I think a missing piece within a lot of coaches' process when dealing with clients is an inability to self-assess and realize that our own personal situations within the moment filter the way that we view our interactions with our clients. And, a lot of the time we put our own emotions onto our clients, and that limits their ability to grow and progress. So I was, different things in that range. So I've just started writing more, just in general. A lot of the stuff doesn't get published. A lot of the stuff is just sitting in my computer in journals. But yeah, that's how I've kind of started the process. What made you write a book, or what like inspired you to write a book about your life?
Honestly, I asked Stephen Pressfield too many questions. That's really how it came down. I hit him up. I'm a big fan of him. He's New York Times bestselling author. He wrote a book called Turning Pro, which is basically, going from amateur to pro and
Yep.
like what that journey really is like. Resistance sucks. You're gonna just it is interesting. It's 174 pages of hit you in the nut material. Always been a fan. I read it at the end of every year, and I hit him up in 2020. Came on our podcast. It was a great podcast. Hit him up a second time. Came on. After we got done, he's like, I really think you should write a book. He's like, your story is very unique. I've been following
It
you.
is.
I think it'd be cool. And I was like, all right, all right. And then I started emailing him just a couple of things. He said, I'll meet with you next Wednesday at 10:30. I'm like, okay. And he's like, all right, so here's what I'm gonna do for you. I'm gonna meet with you every month and you better have something for me to talk about. And he goes, but I'm gonna hold you accountable to do this. So I'm like, oh, okay. So, I mean, you got a fucking New York Times bestseller
Holy
taking
shit.
30 minutes out of his day once a month. And I wrote the book. I got to 105, 102,000 words. And he goes, okay, great. Get it to 65,000. I said, what? He goes, it's too much clutter. I can already tell. He goes, those aren't your precision thoughts. It's got to be precision thoughts. And what came of it, Jason Theobald Scooby read the copy that I have that I'm actually waiting for Prince to come back. And he said it was like he said the book's a very raw therapy session. And so by him challenging me, you got a very raw therapy session book out of me.
Yeah.
I go through all my traumas. I go through wanting to kill myself. That when suicide sat down with me at like a young age, and how I idealized it. I just think shit about living. It's a very bare book, and then I had
Hmm.
to use psychedelics and how that screwed with me a little bit because I was raised red down here in Tennessee. We're God, guns, and faith, and
Yep.
I was raised Roman Catholic, and I felt like I was betraying my God to have to take this legal drug that could make me lose my mind. And I don't know, it was a great book, and that's honestly, man, how it came to be. He just met with me, took a chance on me. I flew out to California back in August. If you go on YouTube and type in ATG After Dark, you will see
ATG.
where Stephen Pressfield actually interviewed me for my book. We flew out there, we did it. He had me come to his home. I'd met him the next day at 4:30. Got to go train at Venice Gym, Beach, Gold's Gym with him. He goes every day, Monday through Saturday.
Steven Pressfield trains at
Up
Gold Venice.
4:30. He's got a trainer. He warms up. They start at 5. They're done at 6. He then stretches for 30-minute showers. And then he goes across the street to this place where he has coffee and a high protein, decently carbohydrate, fruit based breakfast. And then he goes home, sips, gets his coffee's there ready for him because his partner Diane is there. And he begins to write from 9 a.m. until he makes his first mistakes, which are usually around 2 to 3 p.m. He said. And then after that, he
Making his
handles work
first mistake.
emails. Yep. He said, once I start making too many mistakes, it pisses me off is when I stop. It's usually after 5 hours. I was like, so you sit there and write and flow for 5 hours. He's like, yep, I can get it. And we were just chatting about flow techniques.
Yeah.
I remember like when I was writing, there'd be times like I would sit there and be like, oh my God, like it's gonna be because I set like a writing goal every time I did a writing block.
Mhm.
And just to sit there and stare menacingly at yourself, like, holy shit, I have to come up with something. You don't know where you're gonna begin. So often I would just start writing about what I would be like, all right, I'm gonna think about this. And I would just start typing, knowing I would get into flow.
Yeah.
Because flow will all if you do look at the research of Stephen Kotler, The Art of Impossible is a great read. Everybody, don't shortchange this. Listen to it. But I was microdosing LSD, smoking a little on a pot, and then drinking a black coffee, and it helps you get into flow quicker. But in order to beat flow or get into flow, you have to beat resistance, and that means you have to kind of like push past that,
Yes.
and then you'll get in there. And dude, I'd be locked in, and there's sometimes I'd rip out 5,000 words. And that's why I tell everybody when you write, you just got to set a timer like he did.
That's
And
actually
his
exactly what
timer
I
is
do.
that. Yep,
I set
nope.
a
That's the
timer.
best trick you could do. And write, this is something I tell everybody. You could do it two ways. You could write it out, and I chose to do it this way. I just kept writing, and if I knew I was to make mistakes, I didn't care
Yes.
because I think so fast. I have to just do it. Go back, clean it up, and then put it in an app called Grammarly.
Yeah.
Grammarly will clean it up, pay for the professional version. If you're a business, there's no reason you shouldn't have professional grammar. And that helps clean it up a lot. And I asked this question at the seminar. Jordan Syat was down there about social media. I said, what do you think about AI? Do you think originality is going to be the sword? And he's like, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
everybody's going to do AI to shortcut it. The problem is everybody's content's going to look kind of the same because of that. And if your tone of voice, if your writing voice comes across strong,
Yep.
that will be your sword against the lazy people. So writing is absolutely a skill that any business owner should invest in. And I'm glad I did. I'm working on my second book, but that book was a PhD on me. And it got a lot, like I'm a very peaceful man because of it now. Like some of my friends are like, dude, you've changed since you wrote that book. I said, yeah, dude, I was able to bury everything that haunted me in a really clean, nice way. So it's good.
That's one thing I was actually noticing is like your speech cadence is it's not slow, but it's methodical. And I can tell that when you speak, you choose your words very carefully, which is something that I think as a professional is very important. And in this day and age of everyone pulling up shit about anything you say and canceling people left, right, and center, I think better off to choose your words carefully, especially when you're talking about contentious topics. But I think the catharsis of telling your life story. When I started going to therapy in 2014, that was the first thing I did. I just wrote about what happened and why I was there, what my childhood, everything along the lines. And it was probably the most formative, I would say, 6 months of my life, writing all that shit out.
Yeah, I have a question for you. Did you choose to date around and go to multiple counselors per se, or did you kind of find one and just let it rip?
I got really lucky. I got really,
Okay.
really lucky. So a good family friend of ours is a therapist, and I
Okay.
reached out to her and I said, "Hey, I'm not really comfortable going to see you. These are the problems that I'm running into."
Smart.
Yeah, I said,
Yeah, no,
these
keep
are
it
the problems I'm
divided.
running into. Do you have someone you would recommend? And I would prefer a woman, not a man. And the reason I personally prefer speaking to a female therapist is I don't want another dude to be broy with me. And I feel much more comfortable and less inhibited speaking to a female than a male. I know that some dudes might not feel that way. Um, but yeah, I got really lucky and she's been my therapist since 2014. Took a few year break in the middle there. I went for like 2 years straight, took like 3 or 4 years off, and then since 2019, I've been going. At first, it was once a week, then it was once every 2 weeks. Now it's once a month.
I think that that's important. I think any entrepreneur
Huge.
actually should go and talk. And I still go once a quarter to my guy. Um, Even now, it could be something like a 20-minute phone call that we might do just to kind of just so I could just get some shit off my chest. I actually had a date around. Mine was I could tell people are uncomfortable by things I talked about. Um, medication was often something. So I did that. And then the times I didn't want to try it, they'd be very again. You know, you could just tell. Finally, I'm this older guy. I walked in and I was like, all right, man, I'll be honest. Like, if this is gonna work, I need to know, like, tell me a little dirt on you. Because I'm about to tell you all my dirt. And that's something
Yeah.
like I want to tell people. Like, if you really want counseling to work, you got to go in there willing to be like, look, I mean, when I was a kid and I was idealized pain because I assumed pain was progress, it got me through my bone disease. I started when I wasn't in pain from my bones, they started cutting the inner upper thighs or would slam my hand in a door and da da da. Like you're gonna be telling people some real usual
Yeah.
disturbing shit about yourself if you're gonna do the work. And the work is the disturbing shit you want to get out. And he's like, yeah, man, I was used to be an alcoholic, blew out my whole family, my whole life, blah, 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 blah. Got second shot. And that's why I stand before you. And he only takes male CEOs. You have to own a small business or something like that. And it's great because he gives you like real advice.
Yeah.
He'll give you stuff like, well, man, this the other day, this small business owner I trained had the same ass complaint happen. Deal. Move on. Okay. You
Yeah.
know, like
I
it's very nice.
I definitely wouldn't be here doing the things that I'm doing if I hadn't gone to therapy.
Good. Let's normalize therapy as male for men.
Oh,
I think that's a huge thing. Listen, if you want to go and just talk about dumb shit, that's you. Waste your time. But if you want to grow up and become an actual man, like that's like the big thing. Like when I tell my kids, I'm like, when I give you advice that sounds harsh, it's because I wished a man had pulled me aside and said, that is stupid as shit. Don't do that or think like that. Here's XYZ. Go forward.
okay. So this is completely outside the scope of coaching, and I don't even care. One of the things that I actually battled when I was speaking to my therapist was I found a lot of the therapy techniques go back to childhood, and I am so fortunate to have been chosen to have the parents that I have.
Me too.
Two incredible human beings. Um, Obviously, no human is perfect, and so understanding that they did the best they had with the tools available to them, and you are still the amalgamation of both of your parents' bullshit as well.
100.
So that was probably one of the hardest parts to me was admitting like, they could have done better in certain instances, but they're just amazing people. And we got married 3 weeks ago now. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And to be able to, stand up there and thank them for all that they did for me was just a phenomenal experience. And I never, and I speak very openly about my therapy, especially with my wife, with my parents, because I think it's important that the people who love me understand me as a person. Now, I'm going to use a different word than understand because it's not their responsibility to understand. It's their responsibility to like they just need to hear me,
Yeah.
right? No one is going to understand you fully. Hopefully your partner does, the person that you spend the most time with, and I'm very grateful that mine does. But there's also a lot of things that she doesn't understand, and she lets me own those things.
I know we got to get back into coaching, but I want to say one
Yeah,
important thing just to go up on this. I had to learn that a lot in relationships as man that women don't always they don't always want me to fix something. Sometimes they just wanted to hear me. And I probably could have gone be heard. And I could have gone through a lot less pain had someone told me that when I was younger. Because as men, we always try to fix things. I try to fix things about everything all the time, everywhere.
your job is
And it's
fixing things.
yeah, job things fix things. And sometimes you just need to just listen. And that goes for men too. And
Yeah,
that's how I have a guy group, we hang out, we just listen to each other. No one's trying to fix anyone. It's just blah. And this is what it is. But anyway, that was a fascinating topic. I appreciate you sharing that because I
yeah,
think even if you're female, you could benefit from that point there too.
without question, without question. All right, let's flip it back to business a little bit. So
Sure.
you have your coaching business, you also have Iron House. Tell
Mhm.
me a little bit about like which came first.
So I worked for the Department of Homeland Security from 2002 to 2007. In
Okay.
2005, I couldn't stand working any more overtime. And this guy at my gym, Clint, he had taken over the training department, kept bugging me to join his team because he saw my workout partner who worked with me at Homeland Security. The guy dropped like 40 pounds 6 months. He was going through a divorce.
Nice.
So he obviously knew I knew what I was talking about. I looked like it too. So I was like, no, man, I'm not interested. Trainers are losers. You guys just spend time stretching checks, holding clipboards. I'm cool with that. I don't want to do anything. I make enough money, work for the government. Thanks, bye.
Yeah.
So then I really watched them like change. Like I watched these trainers like, wow, that guy actually like had a chick squat for 8 reps. Say what? Under a barbell. And like I could start seeing it. So one day I was leaving. I was like, hey man, you still doing trainer things? He's like, yeah. And so I went in for an interview. He laughed because I showed up in a suit. I was trying to be professional.
Yeah.
And he was there in his gym clothes. And got my first client, man. She wanted to wear the sexy piece of lingerie for her 10-year anniversary in like 12 weeks. And I said, sure, and we'll do it. And then she came in a couple months later, picking me up, and I'm not a little guy swinging me around. And she accomplished her goal, and she felt great. And thank you for that. And I was like, this feels good. Like, this is
Yeah.
nice. I'm in a cesspool where people yell at me for walking through the metal detector, me having to back up one of my people because the guy was a dumbass and forgot to take his cell phone and keys out of his pockets before he walked through the metal detector. But somehow it's this person's fault today
Yeah, of course.
that you're the dumb fuck, and I was getting yelled, screamed at. It was just awful work environment, man. If you work in the government, anyone out there's nodding their head slowly, like, yep, doesn't matter what level, they all suck. It's all bureaucratic nepotism. Um, but in 2007, I decided to step out my own. And right when that happened, the America's economy collapsed due to the usual bullshit and rich people will do. And my business grew. And what happened was I was getting 40 and 50-year-olds. I wanted to be like Connie. I want to be like Chris Aceto. I didn't want to train no peasant gym pop people.
Right.
I wanted to train like Jose Raymond. I wanted him to give me a call, like someone like that. That's what we're all thinking when you first get into it. Like, oh, I'm going to get like Tom Brady, you know what I mean? Or something.
Yeah.
You're thinking this high level stuff. But then what I started getting was all these gym pop people whose 401ks have been wiped out, and I'm like, all right. And then I just found out they were just cool people and they just really didn't know any better. And someone would really try hard and progress and really
Yeah.
make some kill. And I was like, all right, this is cool. This is cool. Actually, you know what? I actually kind of get through these people more than my own people. All right, this is nice. Do you know what I mean? And
Yep.
off I went, man. 2010, I stepped out on my own. And in 2015, I had a chance to acquire Iron House, my now deceased business partner Derek. He passed away in 2018 at 37 from pancreatic cancer.
Holy shit.
So I bought the remaining part of his stock, and we started with 42 members. And as of today, we are just shy of 1,000 with 8,000.
Holy shit.
And I am a complete debt-free entity with 2 to 3 pieces of every single equipment that runs contractor trainers through the facility. So that way the members get their experience, we get ours. We're the most expensive gym by $40 a month average. We sell supplements. We have a massage therapist, an art body work guy. I'm married to get a physical therapist there. I've done a really good job in my staff of being able to be hungry for integrating vertical integration. And then now we're looking at adding another 6,000 square feet, or I was approached by the town over to take over 21,000 square feet and anchor down a big facility in this new big project they're looking to build. So we have a lot of options, and I
Oh
tell
yeah.
everybody I would not have gotten those options by not listening to people smarter than me, by not having people who were around me when I wanted to quit to remind me that this was the juice I asked to squeeze. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
for
And
sure.
okay, you're right. You're right. Okay, I should shut up and keep going. And by a lot of me just willing to not collect a paycheck like most entrepreneurs do. I was willing to pay people more money to work alongside me, take less, and just really kind of make sure I had a training brand that sustained no matter what. And I allowed the company to build that way. So that's
Wow,
kind of been that story.
there's a lot to tease out of that.
Yeah, no, there really is, but that was how I did it.
That's friggin' amazing, man. Like that the 1,000 members and the price point, like that's the thing I think a lot of people don't realize is people will pay for quality.
All my equipment's Arsenal, Legend, Life Fitness, Cybex, Hammer Strength. I have literally 3 to 4 sets of every single dumbbell. All my plates are complete steel. We
Yeah,
like all our
quality.
treadmills top end, those woodways that you can run on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we have all those. So like it's pretty much 4 power racks, 3 benches plus an incline, 2 Smiths, 2 hack squats, a pendulum, a belt squat. I mean, it's just all anything you could want, I have. And I created a facility where it's very interesting. You'll see a mom of three powerlifting and squatting, and then you'll see some bodybuilder, and then you'll see some teenager, and then you'll see some just average mom in there who just wants to like feel good for her life. It's a very eclectic gym. I actually don't have many bodybuilders in my gym. It's probably why my gym's so good. No offense,
Oh, it's so
bodybuilders.
clean
But
and quiet.
dude, that's one thing. Like we focused on this. We focused on controllable assets that most companies don't do. Currency, people. I believe that the fastest way gyms die is turnover at the front of house. I
Oh,
was
for
willing to
sure.
pay people more money to stay consistently with our brand. I
Hmm.
felt that women would be better to run a gym because they would give me the eyes to the things that I wouldn't see, like turn that leg machine this way, put that there. So if this girl
Right.
does this, you know what I mean? Different
Yep.
sets of eyes, especially for apparel, supplements, things, just things you wouldn't honestly think about. And I chose to just pay more there. The other thing was cleanliness. You can walk by any of my equipment. There's no dust on it all at any times. All our plates are all racked and organized. We have staff who walks through and organizes equipment every 30 minutes on the gym floor to make sure it is in order. The members are taught to put things in when we do tours. We're like, hey, we keep things clean and orderly. So you will always know where to find it. And the third thing is I just wanted people to have a Chick-fil-A gym experience, man. Like, there's no reason for me to be more swole than you or you be more swole than me. I just wanted people to be like, hey, what's up? How are you? You having a good day? Okay. People talk to you, great, but my staff knows to talk to everybody. And that's something that we really like take pride. I admit I'm not the best sometimes because I walk in, my whole days are on fire. But that's something
Yeah.
I've had to learn as a business owner in the journey. And those are the three things we really try to control and just provide the quality there. And of course, have a quality product. But those are three controllables you can control.
What enticed you to not pull a salary, and how long did you not pull a salary from the gym?
I just started pulling a salary last year, and it's a measly $1,450 a month, just so my accountant says it looks good, and I'm like, okay, done. I chose to live strictly off my training money,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you.
and I think that that's how you grow a business. The longer you can go without your salary, the further you're gonna go. And because of that, I'm just shy of being $1 million product by myself, and most people do not get that unless they have two gyms, and we've done it with one. The vertical integration was the biggest thing we've done. Like
Without
we
question.
have we have meals in there, um, water bottles, Ghost energy drinks, Bang energy drinks, protein bars, beef jerky, Rice Krispie treats, anything you could think of that bodybuilders, workout people are using, you can buy at our gym. And then the key thing I did was this. I told the members, the supplement store, I would take a percentage every month and put it into account. At the end of the year, what that money is, I'd buy new equipment. And guess what? There's always about $15,000, $16,000 in there. And I'm always able to buy new equipment every year.
I think that's a huge lesson for anyone who's actually looking to open a gym, because I hear it all the time and I get asked all the time, hey, when are you gonna open a gym? I've done the business model 1,000 times in my life, because as a meathead, all you want to do is have your own business space, have your own training space.
Yeah.
There's two reasons that I haven't opened a gym. Number one is I don't want to be tied to a specific place,
Yeah.
which is a challenge. And number two, because I think it would limit my ability to do the other things that I really love doing while I built that business. But you didn't happen to do that. Can you, like, do you sleep?
I worked from literally 18 all the way up till it was 37 when the girl I was seeing at the time. She was finally like, all right, I'll take this day off if you'll take off because I was working 7 days a week. I said,
Yeah.
all right. And so I went down to six. The reason the gym became what the gym became is the old business owner looked at Derek and I was like, I'm closing it. And Derek and I were like, what the fuck? We each had like 40, 50 people in person.
Yeah.
Derek actually was an interesting phenomenon. He came to me, he was 440 pounds. He dropped all the way to 250. And all he did was just go around and he would go to Overeaters Anonymous. he would go to the grocery store and talk to people and things like that. And that's how he built his clients. So he was the first person I ever saw who managed to get like a lot of obese and quote people into a gym. It was very interesting. That's why I was like, you can build a model of health and fitness because everybody has different levels of health and fitness to them that they're applicable to
Yes.
want to achieve. But to answer your question, no, I sleep pretty well. I just very, very structured, meaning I get
Well,
up
now
every
you
day.
probably sleep on a bed of money.
No, actually, I don't. I wish I
Fucking with you.
did. And I think that's something like I don't chase money anymore. And what I say by this is in the beginning, you get into the hole, you're chasing money because you just
For
want to
sure.
know if you're winning or not.
Yeah.
Now it's more like I just want more money so I could create more. You know what I mean? Like I just now know that what I can do with it. So it's a completely different way of looking at money. And that was just by someone who was raised by Irish poor people. That was just kind of like my mom was like, you just hoard all your money and work yourself to dust. And it's like, oh my God. But I'm very structured. And I think that's something that people
Mhm.
have to understand about entrepreneurship. I tell everybody who jumps in, I'm like, good, I hope it's good for you. But how are you going to beat someone that's foaming at the mouth to get on their phone at 5 a.m. to answer emails and is able to lock it up at 5 p.m. to recharge just enough to be hungry enough to whip your ass tomorrow? And be willing to do that every day for years on end. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, you have to be disciplined to that calendar, my friend.
Yep.
From 5 to 5, it's got to tell your whole day. And for mine, it was like 5 to 8 for a long time. So now it's five to
Mine's like
five because I,
five to nine right now.
yeah. And one of those things, man, I really did was I just started putting hard boundaries in
Oh yeah.
and just, it was just like, I wouldn't do it. And I'll be honest, the moment I kind of like went from sleeping 5, 6 hours a night to 7, 8, I saw the productivity show up. I would never, once you do that as a business owner, Paul, once you do it, you'll be like this.
Oh, I
What,
sleep's actually the
what?
one thing I never give up. Sleep
Yeah, no, but when
seven
you see
hours
people
minimum
doing
every
it,
night.
it's
Um,
wild.
and that's actually because of therapy, because I found that my mental health takes a huge dip when I don't sleep. So 7 hours of sleep is my minimum every night. And of course, there's exceptions with like flights or events. Like I probably won't get 7 hours tonight because I've never been to a Lakers game, and the Lakers are playing the Houston Rockets tonight, so we're going to the game.
Oh,
And I was like,
congrats.
I got to wake up at 5 tomorrow, but I'm going to this game regardless. End of story. But yeah, I being you can look at it as being a slave to your calendar, being disciplined to your calendar, but to me, like my calendar is I look at it as impact. Like every hour of my day is meant to impact others and in turn return that to myself. Whether it's reviewing videos for my clients, check-ins, podcasting, content development, mentorship calls, whatever it might be. If I don't schedule my day the way that it needs to from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., I don't get to do the cool things that I want to do.
Have you ever heard of something known as theme days?
Theme days? No.
Mhm. So I trained the CEO, and there's this book I can't remember years ago. He told me to get it. But the guy has an idea of theme days. And it's like Monday is your content day, Tuesday is your marketing day, Wednesday will be like check-in day,
Okay.
Thursday client check-in day, Friday meeting day.
Yep.
I did that for a long time, and that gained me so much traction that now I do that, and I still to this day have an 8 hour content day once a week. And I the other last night when we were at Hybrid Health Summit, Jason, this guy made a comment about content. I said I got him beat. I pulled out my phone and I showed Jason where I had 1,700 things written that I just never shared with anybody that are completely done anywhere from 500 to 12 2,000 word things. And he was like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And I
Yeah.
was like, "That's a content creation day because when you're in flow, you can do
Yeah.
anything you want." And that's why I tell people there's power to that.
There is power to that. I think for me, I know that my workflows, I do really good in 2 hour blocks. So
Mhm.
I can get into flow very quickly, but I get out of it very quickly too. So for me, that 2 hour mark is kind of like my end. And the beauty of the way that, I do coaching, I do mentorship, I do education, I can just switch from one element to the next and get right into a flow doing that. And so the
Yeah.
novelty of that does it well. So I use a concept called non-negotiables where I will take all of my business to-do list for the week and I'll separate it into days in terms of blocks each day. So I know that every day I have a content development block from 5:30 to 7 p.m. I know that every morning from 5 to 6, I do my client work in the morning. First thing, get up, go do it. And then throughout the day, different meetings and things like that. From 7 to 11 a.m. is training and eating. And every day that's that. So it's similar. Like I have more theme blocks and I just pepper them
Right.
throughout the week. But
No, that makes
same
sense, but it's
concept
great for
for
people to
sure.
hear that because these are practical tools. People could be like, well, one works for one guy, one for try them, see what works for you. I
Exactly.
do better in one long flow, get this one thing done, and now I gotta worry about it. And that does well for me. So that's great that you shared that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, okay. I do want to touch on bodybuilding a little bit because
Sure.
I think it's really, you mentioned, so you have the brittle bone disease,
Yes, sir.
standing on stage, competing against people. I feel like in your context, no one gives like no judges give a fuck how hard it was for you to be on that stage.
Exactly. That's why I
They
loved it.
just give a shit about what you look like.
Yeah.
And there's a fantastic element there because for me, I knew that the end point wouldn't be anything for me to be proud of. Like I knew I was not going to be competitive on a bodybuilding stage. And it's just an element of maybe some no one shows up. I built like a square. My midsection is thick as fuck, and I have huge ass, small legs because I've been powerlifting for the last 14 years. Okay. I squat 800 pounds. You'd never know. Um, so I knew I'm like, the only thing I have control over is the process to get to the stage.
Right.
So the stage was just kind of like an afterthought for me. I wanted to be ingrained in the process. Whereas for you, it was a bit flipped in that no one gives a fuck about your process, but you knew you could stand on stage.
Right.
How did that mindset come about?
Well, man, I'll be honest with you. The first few times I competed, I did well. Like I remember, for me, like my expectations, I was just like, all right, as long as I don't get last. And I took fifth out of like 13, 15 guys, and that was the lightest guy by 20 pounds.
Wow.
And then next week I got fifth in the actual lightweight open class. And that was back when like people used to show up 10, 12, 15 deep in your class. And I kept steadily improving. And then in 2008, I felt like I was misjudged. Like I showed up peeled. It's the first time I had lower back striations, glutes. Like, hey, hate to break it to the bodybuilders out there. It's perfectly normal to have to go through 3 or 4 shows before some body parts come in. And I think we're all like not understanding that anymore because, you see someone like me. I'm like, well, I'm 43. I'm going to have a striated ass. I've been competing since 2006.
Yeah.
So it was after people started seeing pictures and we'll be like, so why didn't you win? I'm like, well, my left leg's smaller. I lose the symmetry around. They're like, yeah, but that guy's got like no back or is fat. Like, I don't know, man. It's up to you. And that when I like heard all that, I was like, okay, if I have a choice here, I could go down this path of like, I'm pissed about my placing, or I can go down this path of like, I'm doing this for me. I'm trying to beat myself. And it's something people never said I would be able to do. I really love it. How far can I shove this fucking thing? And that was when I just decided to like look on that end of it. Like competing to me is just a matter of learning about how much I can endure and learning something about myself. I think that that's why people should do preps. I'm like, if you get like some great trophies and you become a great bodybuilder, that's awesome. But it's what you find in the process. And what you find in the process is yourself. And I don't know, man. Every time I do a prep, I learn something new about myself. Like there's some new insight that I walk away and go, oh, that's pleasant. You know what I mean? Or, ooh, I need to work on that. And there's always something.
That's literally why I wanted to do it because I was, injured to the point where I couldn't train the way I wanted to train for powerlifting and I knew I wasn't going to, set any PRs in the state that I was in. So I was like, I need something that challenges me mentally the same way that powerlifting did. And there was a point in my prep, I think I was 2 or 3 weeks, or it was a week and a half out. I just spoke at the Swiss symposium. I was fucking exhausted. We got home. Olivia went to Orlando to one of Jason Phillips' seminars, and I was home alone with the dogs. I'm like, I'm going to take the dogs for a walk. And I remember walking the dogs at the dog park, bawling my eyes out because of how tired I was. And I was like, this is why I signed up for this. This moment
Mm.
right here to feel these feelings of hardship and to continue to put one foot in front of the other. This is why I'm doing it. And I think so many people miss out on that because they're looking for either a quick fix or, the next refeed or whatever it might be, when that hardship is so incredibly valuable. Not to mention being as structured as I was during that time, business was like awesome.
Yeah, I for me, the hardships like just reminded me about how lucky I was to be able to do it all in the first place. Like, and I was having this conversation with my wife. I said, if I loved baseball, most people know this about me. Like, I can't watch baseball still to this day because how much I loved it. But when I had that skateboard accident, it took it away from me. Um, I don't know if I ever could gone pro there, probably not. But to have something I wanted to as a kid, tried to go pro because I was good
Mhm.
at it, bothered me. And then in bodybuilding, I knew I could never, ever, ever get that pro card because of the symmetry. But man, if it just didn't make me feel something about myself, that I'm like, look, Paul here has nothing wrong with him. I have something wrong with me. And in fact, in 2016, Jason Theobald, I laugh because I remember his response. So I was doing squats, the girl I'm seeing at the time. I come up with the seventh rep, my femur breaks around the rod of my right leg.
Oh,
And I rack it and like catch myself. And I remember I lay there, I was like, so this is how it ends. And I was like, no, fuck that. So I crawled over to the leg press next to it. I tried to do a rep. I couldn't do it. And so I like stood up and then she's like, all right, we need to go to the hospital. That looks bad. And I'm like, nope, I'm fine. There's nothing they could do because I knew the rod would hold. And I knew the bone broke around the rod because I'd had something similar before. And she goes, okay, what are you going to do? Rest? And I was like, no, I'm going to go get on the step mill and jump on my left foot. So I just proceeded to do the step mill for the next 4 weeks straight with just one foot. My left leg's historically my bad leg. It's the one that I never broke, but a doctor's hand forever deformed by a Frankenstein shit he should never done. And I ended up placing second back to back those weeks. I sent Scoob the picture the next day and he literally texted me. I was like, are you sure this is a good idea? And I was like, just finish this for me. I don't want to think.
holy
And
fuck.
so I did. I got the pictures in my book. I tell the story. I show you the picture of what it looked like the day I woke up. I fractured legs all fucked up, swollen, not a cut on it. And then I ended up taking second back, and I'm beating a few people.
That's
Getting that.
insane.
So that's one of those things where it was a moment. Like I was like, how do I want this to end? Do I want to be like everybody else who blew their diet and was like, oh man, well, I just had to pull out because of XYZ. No, 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 no.
No, no,
Some
no,
people
no,
we know
no.
why you pulled out on. And I wanted to be able to prove like nothing would stop me. And dude, I can't tell you how confident I became after doing that. And it would like I'd already done shit in my life before then that had made me confident. But that was one of those like, all right, I can really just kind of like withstand some shit. All right, bring it. And then 2018, I remember I go see a psychic every so often because I think they're a good time. I'll tell everybody to do it. But this guy grabbed me. I've seen him like 3 times, 4 times. You have to understand when you leave here, this will be the hardest year of your life. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, da 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 da. You
After
know,
hopping on a fucking stairmaster, this is gonna be the hardest year of your life.
dude,
Like, yeah,
like I'm
whatever,
thinking some.
buddy.
Well, then not long after I had that, my business partner gets diagnosed. Some shit goes sideways with my oldest son, baby mama drama. My dog dies, then my business partner dies, and then I have to figure out how to buy the company and take on $120,000 loan to be able to do it. And so it was one of those like I feel like had I not had that response by getting on the step mill, Paul,
Yeah,
2018 might have broke me.
yep, 100%.
And so you know what
I
I
get
mean? Like
that.
I tell
Yeah,
people, I'm like, even if you show up and you get the last placing ever, there's pride in finishing something and keeping
yes,
the damn promise to yourself. There just is.
I totally agree with you. I think that's a fantastic way to tie this off. But I do have a couple quick hit questions for you
Sure.
that have nothing to do with coaching. Are you ready?
Sure. I was actually going to ask you a question. It could be a simple answer. What's your
Okay,
goal
you
for
go
this year?
first.
Oh, you want me to go first in my
Yeah,
own
you go
question?
first. You go first on the question.
Okay. So, my question to you is what's one big goal, one goal you're working on in 2024 that's something completely new for you? I'll share mine spirituality.
Completely new for me.
Spirituality is my goal for this year. uncovering my roots of spirituality. What do I really believe? What really defines my spiritual side
I like
is
that.
my goal for this year. And it's something I've never done. I've never written it down.
Uh, I'm asking for help. That's something that I have never actually done within my business.
Badass.
Yep. I've never actually asked for someone or a service or a company to help me with anything. And now I'm doing that.
Proud of you. That's how you grow, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been pretty cool. Um, what is one album you could listen to with no skips?
Oh, wow. Metallica and Justice for All.
Okay. Do you crack an egg on a flat surface or the side of the pan?
Side of the pan.
Okay.
What animal does it on a hard surface? Bacteria.
Chefs.
Blah, blah. Glad I don't eat eggs.
Five people at a dinner table, dead or alive. You plus five.
Oh, wow. Let's see. I definitely go with Robert Greene.
Ooh, good choice.
I would go with Nietzsche's. I would definitely probably want to have a conversation with General Sherman.
Okay.
So I would definitely want to talk to John F. Kennedy Jr. And I think my fifth one, everybody would, wow, dead or alive, the fifth one. I would probably want to talk to the Oracle of Delphi for my fifth one.
You think JFK knows who killed him?
100%. That guy flew backwards, then forwards, or
Yeah,
forwards, then backwards. It's two.
I
Can't
think
convince me
so.
otherwise. Sorry, I'm a conspiracy theorist.
I love it.
I go deep down the holes, ladies and gentlemen. You guys watch me sometime on YouTube. I'm funny on there.
Last question is if there is one person you would like me to interview on this podcast, who would it be? But the caveat is you have to help me get them on.
Oh, you know, can I return the question back to you on this? Do you want to go like business that would be like high level with someone who sells businesses for a living and could do a deep dive on like value assets and so forth for space? Or do you want someone like functional whiz guy? Because I could think either one. So just a matter of which one you wanted to go.
Let's do business because I got Austin later today, the functional
Oh,
wizard guy.
wow. Okay, I would actually go either I'll put you in contact with Jason Roberson. He's one of my good friends. He does the ATG podcast with me and Scoob. He is actually part of Nashville Business Brokers here in Nashville, and he sells businesses. And that guy's giving me a lot of good financial stuff, but he is pretty good about understanding basics and numbers and things like that, man. And I don't know. I think that'd be a podcast that would be
I think I'd learn a
interesting
lot.
because he's made me kind of question what is the value of my own businesses. Like,
Right.
well, is it what is data the value? Is this the value? I don't know. It's really interesting. I think he's brilliant. He I can't say enough good things about him. He's a very close friend of mine. So
Love it.
um yeah, I think he'd be world of it. We have him actually presenting at our seminar in 2 weeks. And he goes, all right, I'm just going to help people understand how to like hold on to their business as financial. I'm like, good. Most people already knows how to do that. And I think our industry is not littered. And I don't mean this bad way, insulting way, which is why I say it. So people are like, why, who the hell is this guy? Why the hell should I listen? A lot of us got our starts just by people wanting to hire us, which means we did it through Venmo, PayPal, cash, check, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
There's no real books. There's no LLCs. There's no this. There's no that. It never hurts to hear how to really put a business together because there's so many times that I've gone back through my business like shit, I was supposed to do that year two. Fuck. All right. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like, guess we're doing this now. And then you got to go do it. So I don't know. I think that'd be the conversation.
Yeah, I would love that. Jeff, thank you so much for your time today. I feel like we
Thank
could have
you.
talked forever, man. It's
Yeah, I like talking. You have to come down to Nashville sometime when you're allowed to leave your communist country, Canada, and have a bourbon and some stuff with me and just chat.
well,
I do all my
I was thinking on our
podcasts and
drive
stuff.
home, we might just cut through Knoxville.
Oh, I'm in Nashville, so I'm even a bit.
Nashville?
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
Actually,
Knoxville's the better city than Nashville.
I'll Google it and I'll let you know, but I think Nashville could be on the way.
If you do, let me know because I do all my stuff in person for my podcast now. We actually are starting to try to monetize it so I can start flying guests in and do a whole bunch of stuff quarterly. And Scoob's actually driving down from Cincinnati. So yeah, let me know, man. Love to
Yeah,
have you. If not, we could do something online even.
definitely will. Jeff, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, and we'll catch you on the next one.